this is Christine with New Healing Horizons, or Reiki by the Lake. So welcome to tonight's free healing event. And this is my third time doing this. I've had a few takers, so I'm hoping that I get a few new people who want to help me with my little experiment and see if this modality can help them. So a little bit about me. So I've been doing alternative holistic healing, dealing with energy since 2009. I've had an office helping people in my region since March 2010, so 9 years next month. But my client base has slowly been shifting to people in other parts of the country. So I just did my taxes, and 75% of my business last year did not live in my region. And so they were people from other parts of the country that we connect through the internet, through the phone, or through email. So that's why I'm sort of doing this, because I've had such really interesting connections with people that I would never run into in my everyday life. And I think that with them, many of them, I've made a difference. And so I'm reaching out in hopes that maybe I can help more people. So anyway, so I started doing healing in 2009. I started with a modality called reconnective healing, which deals with reconnecting energy, reducing blockages. And then I added Reiki. And since then, I just keep adding and hoping that I will have a modality that will help each person who comes to me. And typically, it's not just one modality that really helps people, but a combination of them. So this healing pulse that I've been experimenting with is sort of like the ultimate, because I don't need to know really what's going on or why. I mean, I need to know that there's pain, but I don't really need to know a lot of the details, because the healing pulse goes to where it needs to go. And so far, I've found that the energy goes to the pain, and if there is energy left over, it also goes to the underlying cause. So that's sort of my explanation of why it doesn't totally wipe out the pain continuously, but sometimes it does. It sort of depends on what's the underlying reason and how big of an issue it is. But that's not something we would know until we really delve into it. So just doing a healing pulse, we wouldn't know that. But doing more, so you do a healing pulse and then the pain comes back, that's when I would say, well, let's delve into figuring out why this is coming back. And was there some traumatic event or other situation that caused this energy to be in your life that is making your body function in ways that causes pain. So, and that's a huge reason why people are in pain, is that the body isn't functioning as it should. And so when you look at underlying reasons, sometimes it's a traumatic event. So here's an example. So say when you were a child, something really horrible happened and you felt all these really intense emotions. And so normally a body would process emotions and release it. But this was really traumatic. And so instead of releasing, it hangs on to it. And that energy of that emotion or emotions stays in the body. And so wherever the extra energy from the emotions is, causes that part of the body not to function as properly as it should. So here's an example of one of sort of my mentors, Dr. Bradley Nelson, who is a best-selling author, wrote the book The Emotion Code, and that's one of the modalities that I use. And that modality pretty much changed my life and how I interact with my clients. So he has been a chiropractor by trade, and he always wondered why certain people he would have to adjust week after week after week. And hey, I get that. I've been to the chiropractor and they do the same adjustment typically. But at some point he realized that people that had unprocessed emotions that the energies were just held in their body. If they were able to release those emotions, he could adjust them, and the emotion and the adjustment would stay. Or sometimes he wouldn't even have to adjust them. If the emotion got released, the body would adjust back to the way it was supposed to. And so that's sort of the premise for a lot of what I do. I look for underlying reasons and release it. So, but with this healing pulse, a lot of it just goes to where it needs to go. So it's really quick, it's really easy if it works for you. And that's part of my experiment, is how many people does this work for? So far, 5 out of 5 who have contacted me have noticed a reduction in their pain or discomfort. And so I'm hoping to see if there's more of a pattern, because 5 isn't enough for me to say, yeah, I can help everyone, which wouldn't that be great? So if you want to call in, my number is 251-202-9564. And so if you call in, I will have your voice on Facebook Live, but you will be pretty much anonymous, and we'll do a healing pulse. We'll talk just a very short bit of time, and I'll get your contact information, or you can message me on Facebook, because I'll want to follow up and see how things are going and if there's anything that we need to change. And let me just check my messages, because I heard somebody ding, and just see. So there is one thing I wanted to do tonight before I left. So I wanted to talk a little bit about muscle testing, because that is how I determine what modalities I'm going to use, what are the underlying reasons, and I muscle test just about anything I possibly can in a session. And so muscle testing taps into the body's deep inner knowing, and I like touching my heart when I say that, because this is truly where the body knows. I mean, it taps into here, but the heart truly knows many, many things. And so tapping into that, it knows everything that ever was or currently is going on. So it's a fabulous tool for trying to find underlying reasons. So a lot of chiropractors use it. I've run into physical therapists and occupational therapists that use it. It's just a wonderful tool. So here's my disclaimer about muscle testing though. If you are absolutely certain of an answer and are not open to getting a different result, muscle testing for that situation will not work. For instance, so I had a little senior dog. He passed last week. Sometimes I could muscle test for him, but especially when it was regarding his health, I could not, because I was just too tied to the outcome. I so wanted him just to be healthy. And so I knew I couldn't muscle test for him. But you need to know and check yourself to see if you can be objective. So if you can be objective with a certain question or a certain situation, you should probably try muscle testing. And so muscle testing, there's many different ways. I typically teach my clients something called the sway test. And it's just as it sounds. Most people sway forward for yes and backwards for no. With this, there are some things you need to check, because I do have a client that every time I test her, she flip-flops. Forward is not always yes. Or sometimes if your neck is misaligned, or you're dehydrated, or who knows why, you can't muscle test. So you always want to check in and see if you can muscle test, and that's a really easy thing to do. So this is how you first start checking in to see if you can muscle test. Yeah, so you need to stand up. So I'm going to do that. So stand up, and I want you to put your feet shoulder width apart. And so you always want to do a yes statement and a no statement. So your yes statement is going to be really easy. So I'm going to do, my name is Christine, and I'm going to hold really still, and I nudge forward. Some people feel a nudge in different places. So like with me in that point, I felt like a nudge in my knees. Some people feel it in their head, some in their gut, some in their shoulders. So my suggestion to you, hold really still, and sometimes it helps to shut your eyes. And so hold really still, say my name is, and then say whatever your name really is, and just see if you feel a nudge. If you don't, that's okay. We'll come back to it. So now you want to do your no statement. I always do, my name is George. So I'm going to hold really still. I'm going to say, my name is George. And I push back. And so with me, now I know yes is forward, backwards is no. This works great for things that are currently going on. Doesn't work for lottery winners or anything in the future. So I'd be very rich if it worked for the lottery numbers. So let's go back to the people that your initial yes question didn't register. Sometimes it's just a matter of training the body and letting it know what it's supposed to do. So go back and say, my name is, hold really still, and say, my name's Christine. So I got another strong yes. So sometimes you waver a bit, but a lot of it is just a matter of practice and trust. So the best thing for practicing is going to the grocery store, because you're standing at your cart. Nobody really knows what you're doing. There are so many choices that you need to make in the grocery store, and some really good choices and some really bad choices. And so it also teaches you how to frame your questions into yes/no questions. So say you're trying to avoid something that, like a loaf of bread, and maybe it's got different contents that will affect you differently. So you can always ask, is this loaf of bread better than this loaf of bread? Or just a simple, should I buy this? So you can do many different things. So again, if you want to contact me, 251-202-9564. I will be available between 7 and 9 tonight Central Time. Or if you message me on Facebook, we will connect and I'll give you a call and we'll see about just doing a short little anonymous video like this where your voice is recorded. So if you do have any questions, put it in the discussion below or direct message me. And I hope to hear from you. Thank you.